All right, guys, we are going to be going over some formula stuff today, and then we'll also go over some special formulas that are kind of specific to Excel. All right, so first off, we're looking at the sheet, right? And I want us to figure out how to do interest while using absolute, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is select the cell that I would like the formula to appear in. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit equals, right? Because I'm telling Excel that I'm going to be doing a formula. And then what I need to do is I need to select the interest amount. Okay, so 12%, that's 12% every year, right? So because it's every year, I'm trying to figure out each month. So I'm going to divide by 12 months. Okay, so I manually type that in. And then I times it by the total balance of the credit card. Okay, and since I'm going to be doing a running total as I go down, I want it to be this balance and not that one, right? So then when I hit enter, right, it's going to give me $5. Okay, so with that, let's say I want the decimal to show me the cents. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to move that decimal over twice. So now I can see that I have the $5. Okay, now the problem with my formula right now, so you can see it up here, or if I double click, the problem that I have with my formula is if I copy this formula down, that B4 is going to go down to B5, B6, B7, right, as I go down. So if I want it to just stay in this one cell and not move, I need to make it an absolute. So I do that by using the dollar signs, okay, the absolute sign. So if I put those dollar signs in there and I hit enter, right, it's going to now keep it from moving when I copy it down. Okay, now we got to figure out the principal. Principal is, again, I know this isn't a personal finance class, but just kind of going over that. The principal is actually the amount being applied to the balance. Okay, so if I'm paying $40, interest means that I'm losing $5, right? They're charging me an additional $5. So the principal is just going to be payment, right? So equals payment minus the interest, and that'll be my principal. Now that I have my principal, I can go over to my balance. I'm going to hit equals, right? Because I'm starting a formula. I'll take my balance minus whatever I paid to the principal. So enter there. Okay, so now I have these formulas set up where I should be able to just click and drag them down. The other thing I wanted to cover is that when Excel is smart enough to copy a formula, okay, so it copies formulas, but it also is smart enough to copy patterns. Okay, so if it sees 1, 2, it knows that I'm counting up, right? So if I only have 2 selected and drag, it's only going to copy that 2 because it doesn't know it's a pattern I'm trying to copy. But if I have the 1 and 2 selected, and then it come down to the green, boom. Now it knows that I'm copying a pattern. So same thing with this, right? If I just click the 40, it's going to think, oh yeah, there we go. So drag it down, boom, copy that 40. Okay, and then with this, I don't need to do that because it's just copying the formula. It's not copying the number in there. It's copying what's up there. Okay, so I'm going to click and drag that down. Now you see that these are zeros. It's because our formula is built upon some other numbers that haven't been put in yet. So that's okay. We're going to go on to the next thing, right? Click and drag that down. And then balance, click and drag that down. As soon as I let go of this, you'll see that all the numbers update. Okay. So that was how we do absolute. That's like a practical way that you'd use the absolute, right? Because just to give you an example, double click in there, I'm going to get rid of these dollar signs. Okay. And then when I get rid of the dollar sign, I'm going to copy this formula down and you'll see that it didn't work. Why didn't it work? You can see that it went down to B5, right? So again, I've got to go back up here and I've got to change it to the absolute signs so that Excel knows, hey, this cell is the only cell that we're using in this formula. So then, yeah, I'll fix that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over what's considered a logical formula. So Excel is obviously smart enough to figure out to only run a function if it meets certain criteria. So just kind of as an example, right? So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do equals, okay? And then I want to figure out the sum of something only if it meets a requirement. So it's actually going to be sum if. Okay, so I'm going to double click that. Okay, so now that we're doing a sum if, we got to basically tell Excel what we're trying to go through as far as the data. So this first thing is asking for what should Excel look at, right? What data are we looking at? So we're comparing this data. So it's going to look at all these different years. So then I need to do a comma. And the next thing I'm doing is a criteria. Okay, so I made this example easy, right? There's a criteria of 2000. So Excel is now saying, I'm going to look at these numbers, these years, and compare it to the criteria. The criteria is 2000. So now what it wants to know is if it meets the criteria, what should it sum? And so I'm going to actually make it sum this. So if these years are the same as the criteria, so if it's 2000, then it's going to add the values next to the 2000. So then when I hit enter, populates to 18.6. Okay. So now the other thing we could do is we could also do equals count if. Okay. So this one's a little bit different, right? So I'm just going to say the first thing is the range, right? So it doesn't matter. So let's say these, and then I'll do a comma, and then the criteria. Okay, so again, I'm telling Excel, count these numbers only if they're 2000. Okay, so before we even hit enter, we should be able to do it on our own. There's a 2000, there's a 2000, there's a 2000, so it should be 3, right? Okay, so again, that's the count if formula. All right, and then let's hit up this last one. Okay, so this last one is a text-specific formula. Okay, so what that means is it actually can do things to the text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, I'm going to type in equals, and I'm going to type in proper. Okay, so it's basically, you can read the definition, it counts a text string to proper case. So it basically converts it, each first letter, to an uppercase. So I'll double click on that, and then right, I should be able to select what I want it to become proper. Okay, and then I'm going to hit enter. So now it just changed that name to a proper name, and then I should be able to just copy that down. Okay, so it automatically takes that text and makes it a proper. So again, there's other ones you can do. I think there's one that does everything capitalized, it does everything lowercase, it does things like that. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of formulas we can use. Sometimes they're a little bit confusing, right? But you can always go and read the definition. So on the formulas tab, you can always click on the different, like for instance, this is text, right? So I can actually click and see what exactly they do. Okay, so that is that for this lecture.